I, 28M, met Mabel, 32F, at a tech conference in April of 2024. I was working at the marketing booth for my company while she was one of the speakers presenting about software development trends. She seemed confident, successful, and carried herself with a grace that immediately caught my attention. After her presentation, we ran into each other at the networking event and hit it off instantly. We spent the next few months getting to know each other, going on dates, and really connecting on what felt like every level. Mabel worked as a senior software engineer at a big tech company, making over $100K annually, while I earned around $75K as a marketing manager. In October 2024, we officially started dating, and everything was perfect until we started discussing moving in together. Mabel owned a beautiful condo in an upscale neighborhood of the city. The place was stunning, modern architecture, great amenities, and in a prime location. When we first started talking about me moving in, she brought up her expectations about expense sharing. She suggested I should pay 60% of all housing expenses, mortgage, HOA fees, utilities, everything. This meant I'd be paying around $1,440 out of the total $2,400 monthly expenses. When I asked her about the reasoning behind the split, she explained that she believed men should contribute more to household expenses, regardless of income differences. She said it was about traditional values and showing commitment to the relationship. At first, I thought she was joking, but her expression remained serious as she laid out her expectations. I tried explaining my perspective. While I could technically afford the payments, especially after my recent promotion from $50K to $75K, it didn't make sense for me to pay more than her when she earned significantly more. More importantly, I wouldn't be building any equity in the property, it would all go to her. I suggested several alternatives, either splitting costs 50-50, which seemed fair given our income difference, or having me added to the loan and title if I was going to pay more than half. I even proposed a compromise where we'd split things 50-50, but I'd put the extra 10% she wanted, about $240 monthly, into a joint savings account for our future home together. I made it clear that if we broke up, I'd want to take that saved money with me since it was essentially my extra contribution. Mabel dismissed all my suggestions without really considering them. She insisted that as a man, I needed to step up and take more financial responsibility. What bothered me most was her attitude. She acted like she was doing me a favor by letting me move into her condo, even though I had my own apartment and was doing fine on my own. I tried to explain my financial situation to her. I had just gotten the promotion a few months ago, and I was trying to build my savings since I hadn't been able to save much on my previous salary. Plus, I was starting my MBA in January 2025, which would hopefully lead to better career opportunities but would also mean additional expenses. I thought she would understand, given that she was also career-focused, but she wouldn't budge on her position. Things started getting more complicated when I learned some details about Mabel's background through casual conversations with her friends. Apparently, she had been living rent-free in her parents' investment properties for years before buying her condo. This explained how she had managed to save so much money while her peers were struggling with rent. She never mentioned this when discussing our financial situations, instead implying that her savings came purely from hard work and better career choices. I started noticing other red flags too. Mabel would often make subtle comments about how her ex-boyfriends had always paid more than their fair share. During dinners with her friends, she'd point out how their boyfriends covered 70-80% of expenses, suggesting I should be grateful she only wanted 60% from me. These comments always made me uncomfortable, but I tried to brush them off. The situation came to a head during dinner with her parents last week. Her father, who I learned was a successful real estate developer, casually mentioned how Mabel's condo was actually a gift from them. They had paid the down payment and were helping with the mortgage payments. Mabel had never mentioned this detail when demanding I pay more than her. She sat there looking uncomfortable as her father talked about how they wanted to give her a good start in life. I felt completely deceived. Not only was Mabel earning more than me, but she also had significant financial advantages she'd kept hidden. When I confronted her about this after dinner, she became defensive and accused me of being insecure about her family's wealth. She said her family's help didn't change the fact that as a man, I should contribute more to our living expenses. She even suggested that my reaction showed I wasn't ready for a serious relationship. I decided to take a step back and reevaluate our relationship. Mabel's attitude about money and gender roles, combined with her lack of transparency about her financial situation, made me question whether we shared the same values. I told her I needed time to think about everything before making any decisions about moving in together. Her response was to give me an ultimatum: either agree to the 60-40 split or forget about moving in together. She said she wouldn't lower her standards just because I was being difficult about money. The way she dismissed my concerns and tried to manipulate me into accepting her terms made me realize this might be about more than just money. For now, we're still together, but the whole situation has left a bad taste in my mouth. I can't help but wonder what other financial secrets she might be hiding, and whether her views on gender roles would cause more problems down the line. I'm also concerned about how her family's wealth seems to influence her view of relationships, seeing them as transactions where men need to prove their worth through financial contributions. I love Mabel, but I'm starting to wonder if our different views on money and honesty might be deal breakers. Am I overreacting to this situation? Should I just accept her terms to keep the peace? Or are these red flags too big to ignore? Update 1 to 2 weeks later. A lot has happened since my last post and I need to get this off my chest. After our argument about the mortgage payments, things were tense between Mabel and me. She kept bringing up the topic of moving in together, but would get defensive whenever I tried to discuss the financial arrangements. I noticed she started being secretive with her phone and seemed uncomfortable whenever I was around her work friends. Something felt off, so I decided to do some digging. I know some people might say this was wrong, but I had a gut feeling she wasn't being completely honest about her finances. Through Jake, a mutual friend who worked at Mabel's company, I learned something that turned my world upside down. Mabel wasn't earning $100K as she claimed. Her actual salary was closer to $150K, plus substantial bonuses. She had deliberately downplayed her income to make her demand for a 60-40 split seem more reasonable. I sat on this information for a few days, trying to figure out how to confront her. The opportunity came during dinner at my place. When I brought up what I had learned, Mabel initially tried to deny it. But when I mentioned Jake's name, her face changed. She broke down and admitted she had been lying about her finances from the start. That's when the real bombshell dropped. Between sobs, she confessed that besides her salary, she also received substantial rental income from 2 other properties her parents had given her. These properties were being managed by her father's company, and she was collecting around $4K monthly in rental income. All this time she had been pushing me to pay more while hiding her true wealth. When I asked her why she lied, her answer left me speechless. She said she had learned early in her dating life that men became lazy and entitled if they knew about her wealth. She admitted she had done the same thing with her previous boyfriends, always insisting they pay more while hiding her actual income. In her mind, it was some sort of test. If a man was willing to pay more despite earning less, it proved he was serious about the relationship. But it gets worse. Through another friend, I discovered Mabel had been discussing our financial situation with her wealthy friends from college. She shared screenshots of our private conversations about money in their group chat, letting them mock my concerns about equity and fairness. They called me cheap and not husband material because I wouldn't agree to pay more than my fair share. Some even suggested she should find someone more established who wouldn't question these arrangements. The betrayal of trust hit me hard. These were private conversations between us as a couple, and she had turned them into entertainment for her friends. When I confronted her about this, instead of apologizing, she doubled down. She argued that her friends were right, a real man wouldn't care about these details and would be happy to provide for his partner regardless of the circumstances. She even said her friends' boyfriends were real men who never questioned paying more. The final blow came yesterday. I was meeting Jake for drinks, and he revealed something that made my blood run cold. Mabel had been in regular contact with her ex-boyfriend, Michael, complaining about how I wasn't as generous as he had been. Apparently, she had met him for lunch several times over the past few weeks, supposedly to get advice about our situation. Jake had seen them together at a restaurant near their office, looking quite cozy. When I asked Mabel about these meetings, she tried to play it off as innocent catch-ups with an old friend. But why hadn't she mentioned these meetings before? Why did she specifically seek advice from an ex about our financial disputes? The more I questioned, the more defensive she became. I'm now sitting here, writing this update, feeling completely lost. The woman I thought I knew seems like a stranger. Not only did she lie about her finances, but she also betrayed my trust by sharing private conversations, mocked me behind my back, and went running to her ex when things got tough. The worst part is, she doesn't seem to understand why any of this is wrong. In her mind, she was justified in lying because it helped her find a worthy partner. She sees nothing wrong with discussing our private matters with her friends or seeking comfort from her ex. Her whole view of relationships seems twisted by her privileged upbringing and her friends' toxic attitudes about money and gender roles. I haven't broken up with her yet, but I'm seriously considering it. The financial lies were bad enough, but the betrayal of trust, the mockery, and the secret meetings with her ex feel like too much to forgive. How can I build a future with someone who sees relationships as some sort of financial test of masculinity? I could really use some advice here. Am I right to feel this betrayed? Or am I making too big a deal out of this? Should I try to work things out since we've been together for several months, or is this the kind of situation where it's better to cut my losses and move on? Update 2 to 1 month later. After discovering Mabel's lies about her finances and her meetings with her ex, I suggested couples counseling. I thought maybe a professional could help us address our different views on money and trust. Mabel initially agreed, even helping me research therapists. But the day before our first appointment, she backed out. She claimed she had discussed it with her mother, who told her that seeking outside help would make us look weak as a couple. Mabel said she didn't need someone else telling her how to handle her relationships. Things took an unexpected turn when Mabel's sister, Emma, reached out to me. We met for coffee, and what she revealed about Mabel shook me to my core. According to Emma, Mabel had a long history of manipulating partners through financial deception. She thought I should know the truth before getting more involved with her sister. Emma told me about Mabel's last serious relationship with a guy named David. He had lived with Mabel for 2 years, paying 70% of all expenses because Mabel convinced him she was struggling with her mortgage. The whole time, Mabel was actually saving the extra money in a secret account. When David eventually discovered bank statements showing Mabel's true financial situation, their relationship imploded. Mabel had managed to save nearly $50,000 from David's extra contributions while making him feel guilty for occasionally being late with his share of the bills. The conversation with Emma also revealed disturbing details about their family dynamics. Their parents had raised both girls with some twisted views on relationships. Their father openly bragged about how he tested their mother's love by pretending to be less wealthy than he was when they were dating. Their mother taught them that a man's worth was directly tied to how much he was willing to spend on his partner. They saw relationships as transactional, with men expected to prove their value through financial contributions. Mabel's mother had even started a tradition of hosting monthly success dinners where she invited her daughters and their wealthy friends to discuss their relationship strategies. These women would share tips on how to manipulate partners into paying more while hiding their own wealth. Emma had stopped attending these dinners years ago, disgusted by the manipulation tactics being celebrated. When I confronted Mabel about everything Emma had told me, she didn't deny anything. Instead, she tried to turn it around on me, suggesting that my unwillingness to pay more indicated I wasn't serious about our future together. She said her mother was right, I clearly didn't value her enough if I was questioning these traditional arrangements. The final conversation happened when Mabel mentioned that Michael, her ex, was interested in reconciling. She said he had reached out after their lunch meetings, expressing regret about their breakup. According to her, he wouldn't have these petty concerns about money and would be happy to contribute whatever she asked. It felt like she was trying to make me jealous or pressure me into accepting her terms. I realized then that Mabel wasn't just lying about money, she had a fundamentally different view of what relationships should be. To her, love was measured in dollar signs, and partners were valued based on their willingness to pay more than their fair share. The worst part was that she saw nothing wrong with this mindset. In her world, shaped by her wealthy family and enabling friends, this was just how relationships worked. Emma's revelations helped me understand why Mabel was so resistant to being honest about her finances. It wasn't just about getting me to pay more, it was about control and following her family's toxic relationship playbook. The fact that she was willing to throw away our relationship over this, while simultaneously keeping her ex as a backup option, showed me exactly where her priorities lay. I'm now seriously considering ending things with Mabel. The trust is gone, and I can't see how we could build a healthy relationship with such different values. Plus, knowing that she sees nothing wrong with what she did to David makes me wonder what other financial manipulation she might attempt in the future. Emma has been supportive through all this, even offering to help me expose Mabel's behavior to their parents. But I told her I'd rather just walk away quietly than get dragged into more family drama. Sometimes the cleanest break is the best option. Update 3 to 3 months later. It's been 3 months since my last update, and I wanted to share how everything finally ended. After my conversation with Emma and Mabel's attempt to use her ex as leverage, I ended the relationship. The lies, manipulation, and her family's toxic attitudes about money were deal breakers for me. Mabel didn't take the breakup well at all. She started a campaign to paint me as the villain in our story, telling mutual friends that I was financially abusive and had tried to take advantage of her generosity. She claimed I had pressured her to add me to her condo's title so I could steal her property. Some friends who didn't know the full story initially sided with her, especially those who knew about her family's wealth and assumed I must have been after her money. The situation got worse when Mabel's mother got involved. She started calling my workplace, trying to speak with my boss about my character. Thankfully, my company's HR department handled the situation professionally and blocked her calls. Mabel's mother even showed up at my apartment once, demanding I apologize to her daughter for humiliating her by breaking up over something as trivial as money. The truth finally came out when Emma stepped in. She attended one of their mother's success dinners and recorded the women, including Mabel, bragging about their financial manipulation tactics. Emma shared this recording with several mutual friends who had believed Mabel's version of events. The recording revealed Mabel boasting about how she had almost convinced me to pay most of her mortgage while hiding her rental income. I recently heard through Jake that Mabel is back with Michael, her ex-boyfriend. Apparently, he's now paying 70% of her mortgage and all utilities, thinking he's helping her stay afloat financially. Meanwhile, she continues to collect rental income from her other properties and has even bought a third investment property with her parents' help. Emma told me that Mabel and Michael got engaged last week. She said Mabel's mother is thrilled because Michael comes from a wealthy family and doesn't question their views on financial arrangements and relationships. Emma warned him about Mabel's past behavior, but he dismissed her concerns, claiming he understood a man's role in providing for his woman. As for me, I've moved on and am focusing on my MBA program. I changed my phone number and moved to a different apartment to avoid any more drama from Mabel or her family. The only contact I maintain is with Emma, who occasionally updates me about Mabel's schemes to warn me if she's planning anything vindictive. This experience taught me valuable lessons about trust, transparency, and the importance of having similar values when it comes to money. I'm grateful I discovered Mabel's true nature before moving in together or getting more seriously involved. I've also learned to trust my instincts. Those early doubts about her financial demands were red flags I'm glad I didn't ignore. To those who might find themselves in similar situations, trust your gut feelings. If something doesn't feel right about how your partner handles money or tells the truth, don't ignore those red flags. No amount of love can fix fundamental differences in values and honesty. I'm sharing this final update to close this chapter of my life and move forward. Sometimes walking away is the best solution, even if it means dealing with temporary drama and lost friendships. I'd rather be single than trapped in a relationship built on lies and manipulation.